Hey everybody, it's Brad with the Big Family Homestead, and in this video, our topic is dun 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 off-grid stuff. So let's get cracking. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of off-grid is what is on our plate today. Now, here's the thing. Before we even really get started in the topic of off-grid, I think it's really important to point out that there are a lot of, let's just say that off-grid has become a very popular search term, and there are channels that would even use it in titling so that they would get you to come and, come check out everything about this, and this. And, I get it, I understand it, but I really honestly want to have an open discussion, a dialogue, if you will, on the topic of off-grid. We're gonna tear this apart, and this is not gonna be one video, it's gonna be many videos that's going to hopefully, the goal, I should say, is to get us all thinking along the lines of, should I, could I, would I, can I, and why? All of those things, they've got to all play together and work together, or else you're going to be destined for failure if you think you even want to go to any degree of off-griddiness. So, that said, let's talk about what it really is to be off-grid. So the term off-grid has a lot of different connotations to a lot of different people. And the more I chat with self-reliant folks, homesteaders, off-grid people, there is a common thread. So we're only going to deal with the common thread things because there's fringe for everything. And you can't deal with absolutely every aspect of a massive, topic like this. We're gonna deal with the mainline stuff. And so most folks, when you talk to them about being off-grid, they are talking about producing their own food for the most part. They're talking about producing their own electric. They're talking about not being connected to the network of electricity and technology that's out there. And they're also talking about, building their own, residence. They're talking about, as much as they possibly can, being left alone by the societal norms of conformity in terms of going to work in a city or living in a prefabricated box, or they live outside of those norms. And everyone seems to have, like I said, a different definition in terms of how they define themselves as off-grid. But those are the core things I think that I hear the most. And you can, obviously put down in the comments section below what you think or you might want to add to that. But for our discussions, we've got to come up with a baseline of, those things that people want to have when they're talking about basic off-grid stuff. So, all of that to say this is what we're going to approach the conversation with as basics. Basics in terms of self-reliance, that they have to have a water source that is their own. They have to have a power source that is their own, or multiple power sources if you're talking solar, if you're talking, hydro, if you're talking wind, all of those kind of things, power source. The ability to shelter yourself somewhere, somehow. I mean, you've got your survivalist types, and then you've got your folks who are like, no, I'm just going to build a cabin. And the element of being disconnected from technology, in terms of not being attached to a power grid, not being attached to a smart grid. If you don't know what a smart grid is, it's the way that power companies monitor and track your usage of what you're using, how you're using, yada yada yippee skippy. Televisions, I don't know if you guys know this, but most televisions today, they actually can communicate not just with your surroundings, they do. Read your terms of service contract, guys. It's in your TV. They have literally come out in the terms of service and said, look, we can monitor and record everything you're doing and sell it. It's creepy. It is creepy. I don't like it, but that's a reality. So when you're talking off-grid, those types of folks are shunning and they want not to deal with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the feasibility of what it could possibly be if you were thinking, boy, I like this idea of living an off-grid lifestyle. Well, let's talk about, can you? So what do you mean, can I go off-grid? Well, the reality, guys, is if you live in a regular house, in a regular neighborhood, in a regular city, or even a county, you may not be allowed legally to disconnect from your power systems. Check it out. You think I'm lying? If I'm lying, I'm dying. I got to tell you what, this is our personal experience, Scout's Honor. We had a house in Ohio, and basically, the power company wanted to come and put a smart meter on our house. They wanted to swap out the old meter and put the new one on where they don't have to actually physically come and read the meter anymore. They just drive by, or they get the data. It's Wi-Fi'd in. It depends on where you live, how they actually report the data. But they wanted to put the new smart meter on. Well, I pushed back on that for a lot of health reasons, because we have a daughter with cerebral palsy, and she is extremely sensitive health-wise to a lot of RF frequencies, radio frequencies. And I didn't want this smart meter on our house because they weren't disclosing anything. They weren't giving us any information on whether it's even safe for you physically. And then when you're talking about somebody who's got health issues, we wanted to push back until we could do some research on our own. And then we'll make that decision based on what our family wants. But they pushed back, and it got to a legal fight where they were literally saying, you don't have a choice. Legally, we can't even disconnect our power from our house right now. We could not be like, no, we're done. We want your junk off our house. You can't do it. Check into the laws in your own area, and you might be shocked to find out you might not even be able to do that. So when we're talking about off-grid, there are laws in place in a lot of the area of our country that say you cannot have a house unless it has X, Y, and Z. It has to have this, it has to have that, it has to have that. And so you say, well, maybe that's why we'll go with a tiny house. Well, I got to tell you guys, they are wising up to that now, and they're passing legislation to ban and force you to have certain connectedness to their systems. And they're doing that for a lot of reasons. Most of it is control. Most of it is taxation. But the reality is they're figuring out that people are pushing back, and they're wanting a lifestyle that is more independent from the system. Well, that doesn't make people in government roles and those in power and those in control happy, because they can't control you. And if they can't control you, they're going to figure out ways to force laws and force change so that they can control you and force you back into their societal norms. Well, back to the point of whether it's legal or not. I hate to say this, but in a lot of areas in the country, it might not be legal for you to even consider being off-grid. There are things like septic systems or connected to sewer systems, and there are laws. And you may be forced, literally forced, to be connected to their systems. Even if now this ruffles feathers. There are people that will go, well, Brad, it's good for the society if they're being forced to use a public sewer system. I'm not talking about being unhealthy. I'm not saying, hey, be gross and go poop in a bucket over by your tree or have unhealthy systems. I'm not talking about advocating for wild anarchy. I'm not. What I am saying is there are ways that you can be healthy, clean, and compliant if we're talking about making sure that people are healthy and are not endangering others. I'm saying that it's absolutely ludicrous that the government is forcing everybody into the same box when there are options out there that you can be as healthy and you can not affect other people in your area. Get off our back is what I'm saying. There's no reason to force everybody in the same box as long as we are not endangering other people. We're not endangering people in our place. And you're doing it in a responsible, healthy way. So going back, check out the laws. There are several laws that deal with whether or not you even can consider off-grid as a possibility. Today, where I kind of want to end up with the beginning of this conversation is just the concept, get it in your head, can I? Is it legal? And actually, let's open up a dialogue down below in the comments section, because I personally think that government in general has far overreached, and they are far too invasive in our lives, and they have pushed and pushed and pushed to where there's too much control, and I think it's unconstitutional, and I think that what they're doing is absolutely insane in terms of trying to mandate every tiny little aspect of your life and making laws for every stupid little thing and making it so that you can't live outside of the box they've created for you. Now, I'm not talking about irresponsible again. That's very, very important to keep that in mind. But I am saying that people are starting to wake up and push back, and government doesn't like that. They're trying to put more controls and tighten things down. For example, you guys think that you're free. You think you live in okay, here's a good example. I've said this before, so people that have seen my channel know. Okay, do you think you can own land anymore? You can't. In the United States, you cannot own land in a traditional sense that we all grow up thinking, well, I'm just going to go, I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to get a mortgage, and then I'm going to buy it, I'm going to pay it off, and then it's mine, right? No. Think about it. What happens if you pay that house off? You're there. Let's say you paid the dang thing off. You're there 30 years, blood, sweat, and tears in that house. You pay it off. It's yours, right? Well, wait a minute. What happens if you decide not to pay property tax 10 years from now? Then what happens? Well, they take it, or they throw you in jail, or they do something horrible and they ultimately end up taking it. Okay, so that's not really owning, is it? That's called renting. And if you will look at history, it didn't used to be that way. This is a pretty new concept. Our government has pushed and pushed and taken and taken and taken, and now stuff's changed. You cannot truly be an owner. You are simply a renter. They just let you have it in a different way. They allow it in a different way. So where I want to end up with this off-grid thing for part one of many parts, I'm sure, because it's a big topic, is, can I? And in your area, you tell me honestly, can you truly be off-grid? Comments down below, guys. Share the video. The idea is that we are going to, as a community, grow in knowledge, open up the debate. And I'll tell you what, Scout's honor, I don't have to be right on everything at all. What we're trying to do is open up the dialogue, and maybe if enough people get involved, who knows? Maybe it might spark new ideas. Maybe it might spark a way of thinking that is going to better everybody's life. That's the idea. And so off-grid, topic one, can I legally? Tell me. I'm Brad with the Big Family Homestead. You guys have an amazing day.